Hello, welcome to Join Caucus. My name is Evans Mensah. Tonight we will look at that Kumasi declaration, the signing of that peace pact. Many thought that will begin a period where we'll have some quiet, some peace leading into the elections. Well, as it turns out, even on the day when the peace pact was being signed, people were being arrested in the vicinity of that Great Hall at the KNUST. I'm sure we've been following since last night. We've had clashes in Kumasi, the same region that hosted the signing of the peace pact. The Otumfuo Setutu II is concerned about what is happening. We'll be finding out if that peace pact already has been thrown out of the window by the key political actors tonight. With me to do the discussion is Mazu Muftao, Secretary of the NPP, New York, and PRO of the Nasara Club, North America. Thank you very much for joining us here on Join Caucus. Also with me is Wanda Madilo, who's a government communications team member. I want to start with you, Mr. Muftao. When that peace pact was signed, I'm sure you had high hopes for it. What were your impressions then?
Well, indeed, thank you very much, and good evening to my listeners. Ghana is perceived to be a country where democracy and a model of a stable state. So when that peace agreement was signed, well, it was refreshing and indeed a historic. So I was hoping that after the signing of that agreement, we will never see any act of, attack, counter-attack, violence and stuff like that. But lo and behold, just as you said it, at the point that the peace agreement was even signed, people were, leashing out attacks and counter-attacks on their political opponent. To be honest with you, in the lexicon of the K.A. Buzia of the blessed memory, he says, and I quote, that in the flow of political discourse, it is only words and not bullets that will flow. That I thought such a thing is going to really work in a country where we are perceived to be a beacon of hope for Africa. Remember when His Excellency, the President of the United States, came here, what did he say? He said, Ghana, or for that matter, Africa, do not need strong men, but we need strong institutions. So I thought after the peace agreement, everything that has to do with peace will be observed. But unfortunately, what we are hearing now is that, the agreement has been thrown overboard. So
some will blame your candidate, and the NDC indeed had done so that same day after the peace pact was signed, because they say Nanado set the tone for the peace pact to be disregarded, because he chose the platform, again, his accusers say, to attack the president, talking about the fact that he should go beyond rhetoric, citing examples of where he believes MPP supporters had been victimized, asking the president to investigate Yaboatin-Jan. That wasn't the platform for that. He was just supposed to sign a peace pact. Some say he set the tone.
It's unfortunate. The presidential candidate of the MPP, people ought to go into history books and learn who is Nana Addo Dankwa. This is an individual who has accepted multi-partyism long in the 1970s. Remember, at the age of 33, he was part of the team who were struggling to ensure that Ghana really democratized. And remember, before 1992 constitution, or in other words, the 1992 multi-party democracy was open, you remember the instrumental role that Nana played. Now, what goes into the peace agreement? They are looking for what? Justice. They are looking for what have you? Justice, impunity. This is an individual who stood firmly against any act that has the tendency of throwing Ghana into a despotic sense of hopelessness. Nana stood against that. And when we come to justice, Nana Addo Dankwa has defended ordinary citizens of this country. So what are we talking about that he has set the tone? Now, let me even go into what did he say that is setting up the pace for violence. What did Nana say? He was representing the New Patriotic Party. You cannot talk of peace where you have grievances. If the other candidates chose not to talk of their grievances, Nana rather chose to bring them back. He called for investigation, a thorough investigation into the Yabwati Jang tape. Is it legal? Is it accurate? Yes, indeed. This is an individual who is a party member of the ruling government, who came out and mentioned individual names that were, in connivance with the security. He mentioned the Minister of Finance. He mentioned the National Security Coordinator and what have you. So is it that we should not investigate into this case? It ought to be investigated and the real facts comes bare. I heard one of the spin doctors of the NDC saying that, a similar issue was said by our former National Youth Organizer, Cabo. I mean, let us just oppose the two statements that were allegedly said by Cabo and on one hand and Yabwati Jan on the other. Yabwati Jan has been invited by the National Security Apparatus. Why haven't they invited Cabo? They should have invited Cabo. And admittedly, Cabo
has been invited.
Who invited him?
Cabo was invited by the CID. He was actually bailed.
Never.
He was.
I mean, we only have to
Anthony
go.
Cabo, your own Anthony Cabo. He was invited by the CID. He was bailed. Your vice chairperson, what's his name, indeed paid the surety for him. His lawyer is Egbert Fable Jr. We spoke to him, and he was with him when they took a caution statement from him when he was invited on this stage.
I mean, that is your point of view.
No, that's a fact. It's a fact.
Whatever it is, the point still remains that you measure the grievancy of, or you measure the gravity of what Yabwati Jan said vis-a-vis what Cabo said. Now, what Cabo said, the tape recording, Cabo denied vehemently that wasn't his voice. And we have what we call a technophone. It can record the voice of an individual, or it can doctor the voice of an individual. Yabwati Jan accepted the fact that was his voice, what of our National Youth Organizer. So these are issues that need to be investigated. And then for people to keep on mentioning the fact that our flag bearer, set the pace for, chaotic situation, please, I mean, we have to just look and examine the caliber of an individual who is called Nana Addo Dankwa.
I want to bring in now Wanda on this particular subject. Your own Wanda Mandela, your own presidential candidate was on that platform. He committed himself to sign this. He signed this peace pact and verbally said, well, he's not going to superintend over chaotic elections. Some say, well, as Nana again pointed out on that same day, he should move beyond that and show some action on the ground.
Well, it's important to put the issue in perspective, and I will pardon my brother Muftao. He's not been in town for a long time, and so he doesn't really understand the Ghanaian situation and what is happening in Ghana. If he wants to know, before I go into the issues, if he wants to know who Nana Addo is, we've all been in this country and we saw what Nana Addo is. I mean, if he wants to know, I can give him the caliber, the pedigree of Nana Addo. Nana Addo is the one who is, presiding over a party that believes in an order be die, led by him himself. This is a man who believes that, well, the accounts should rise up against the Evers and the Jans without saying anything. This is the man who believes that he can go to court on a Sunday to stop an election from being declared, to declare President Mills as president, if he cares to know. This is the same person who believes that what Kennedy Agyapong said was okay. It was all right to glorify him in the angle in which he was done. And many other things have happened in the past. And so you don't really even, you want to agree with somebody like Kumasi who said that he can't sleep overnight if Nana Addo becomes president one day. Because of some of these critical issues about Nana Addo, the way he carries himself. I think he lives in the past glory days of how that he led some demonstrations out there. And Nana Addo is not the only person who led demonstrations.
Let's come back to the peace
There
part.
are a lot of student leaders who have led demonstrations.
Let's come back to the peace part.
Now on the peace
when
part,
we were speaking
on the peace
part.
side, John Mahama again has demonstrated how peace-loving he is for this country. How that he believes that institutions must work. How that he believes that this election will be presided over without any drop of blood being shed. And he's done that over the period. And that's why, if I hear my brothers from the other side make the point that, oh, he should go beyond rhetoric, what is going beyond rhetoric? In any case, first and foremost, we need to make it clear that the president is only presiding over institutions of state. And these institutions are the police, the Electoral Commission, the other bodies that are related to peace.
He's the commander-in-chief.
Yes, he's the commander-in-chief, but you must understand that institutions must work. And all over in the past, we've had elections in the past. John Mahama is not the first president to preside over elections. There are patterns we have to follow. In 2000, we didn't see this happening. In 2000, when we were in power and they wanted to come to power, we didn't have to sign a peace deal. Why are we signing peace deal today? In 2004, we didn't have to sign a peace deal. In 2008, we did not have to sign a peace deal.
He can independently reprimand his own followers who indeed are found to have engaged in some acts of violence. He can independently reprimand them.
Why not? If you watch over the period.
We haven't seen that. Give me an example.
If you watch over the period, over issues that have happened in the past. For instance, when Botijan made the statement, he was questioned by the CID. I mean, they needed to know, and the National Security Coordinator came out to say that
it was a national security coordinator who told us that he had spoken to him and listened to the tape and he didn't see anything worth investigating.
Yes, but that
same case was reported to the CID by an MPP group.
Yes.
Just as the NDC group reported the Cabo tape.
Yes.
Yet Cabo was invited, granted bail. We haven't seen anything happen to Yabotijan.
Yabotijan has, if you observe, you realize that the complaint of the MPP, the so-called MPP group, was to the CID and to the National Security Coordinator. And the National Security Coordinator...
exclusively to the CID.
I don't remember. I don't quite remember. What I remember,
they actually believe that this National Security Coordinator is an interested party, and so there's no way you can superintend an investigation like that.
Where you're getting it wrong is the fact that Yabotijan has elements of mentioning national security in particular. And that's why it is of interest for the National Security Coordinator to invite Yabotijan.
No, but the fact I just wanted to repeat is that the MPP group never reported the case to the National Security Coordinator.
And I am saying that the content of the tape that is to be investigated was in the domain of the National Security Coordinator. True of us. The content, as purported to have been placed out there, has to do with National Security Coordination. And the National Security Coordinator took the pain himself to find out what was happening.
Let me ask you, and this is just one final question on this one, then we can move to the main subject. The point that they made then was that the National Security Coordinator himself, as you just said, was mentioned in the tape. How can the same man who is implicated on the tape investigate himself?
No, he wasn't implicated.
The man said,
according to the tape,
the institution that he's boss of.
But that is not duplication. He said that they are getting people there. I mean, through some other ways. Granted that the tape we listened to was true. Some other way. He never said it was a collusion. By the way.
Let's come back to the
He didn't say it was a collusion between him and the National Security Coordinator. If you clearly want to even understand it from the point from which they were behaving as if he was going to do it in a very, subtle manner without the knowledge of the National Security Coordinator. And so, for me, what is of paramount is that the issue has been looked at. If it is of the security in nature, it's of a threat to Ghana, it would have been looked at. And so we are looking at all the issues. Why is it that they have a problem anytime the MPP is invited to the security agencies, to the police or the CID or anything of the sort? We saw what happened in this country. State institutions state properties were vandalized and all that when Kennedy Japan was invited. We had people going all the way to the BNI Secretariat to go and vandalize and all that, and they were picked up and all that. So they should be law-abiding. That's what I want to say. That Nana Addo himself and his campaign team and all the people who believe in the ideals of Nana Addo must also believe in the peace of this country. The peace of this country is of utmost importance to us, and that is what we believe in, and not any parochial interest of any political party or any leader who feels that one time in the past he was leading demonstrations, and so because you led demonstration, you qualify to be president. That doesn't happen anywhere else. We want somebody who is level-headed, somebody who is peace-loving enough, somebody who believes in the national cause, in the patriotic reason for which we have been in this country to further that cause. Not anybody who thinks that he deserves deserves it just because you led demonstration in the past. I was a former NUCS president. We've all led demonstration. We've all campaigned all over the place. But we cannot say that because we've done that in the past, so we live in the past glory days and say that, well, because you have led demonstrations, so you deserve to rule this country. It doesn't happen. Policies, programs, and then ability to rule and commitment to the country is what we need, and not this kind of abysmal, posture we're seeing from Nanado.
And we'll take a short break here on Joint Caucus. We'll return and then also open up the discussion, because there are other angles about how do we ensure that that peace pact is respected by all. Once it's been signed, maybe the parties will commit further to some sanctions, some have suggested. We'll come back shortly after this break and pursue those other angles, plus also the clashes in Kumasi. Thank you very much for staying with us here on Joint Caucus. My name is Evans Mensah. With me looking at the issues, you're talking about the Peace Pact, the Kumasi Declaration, and implications for the various political parties who indeed signed the Peace Pact, and all that has been happening since then. Mazu Muftao, Secretary of the MPP, New York, PRO of the Nasara Club, North America. Also, Wanda Madilu, Government Communications Team member. Now, I want to deal with the subject of the survival, if you may, or the relevance of the Peace Pact now. It's barely been, 3 days after the signing already. With the discussion we've been having and what has been happening in Kumasi, we'll talk about that in detail. Will this Peace Pact hold going into the December 7 elections, which is some 6 or 7 days away?
I'm optimistic that those who appended their signature to the peace agreement will not fail this country. But before I go there, let me just quickly just go into what my brother said. I think he needs to know much about the caliber of an individual called Nana Addo Dankwa. From 1959 to date, we've only had 2 prominent Ghanaians who had the opportunity of chairing the UN Security Council. The first was the first foreign minister of Ghana, and the second is Nana Addo Dankwa. So Nana Addo Dankwa himself is an embodiment of peace. Time with a number, he has admonished his followers not to do anything that will throw Ghana into a despotic sense of hopelessness. I heard him mentioning the fact that I'm away Ghana for a quarter. No, listen, you don't need to be in Ghana before you know what is happening in Ghana. Now we are in a globalized village. Events happening in Palestine, events in Cuba, events in Egypt. You can just, if you care to know, you read it and get it. Facts. Now, he's talking about the concept of all die without. As member of the MPP, I'm proud to even hear that.
Why?
Yes. You know what? People are really giving it a negative connotation.
What does it mean?
You see, you know what? The price of internal democracy is vigilant. It is a statement that energizes the members of the MPP.
To do what?
To protect the sensitive, to protect the integrity of our electoral process.
Isn't that the responsibility of the security agencies to do?
I mean, it is responsibility of every
You can only assist.
Listen, it is the responsibility of every citizen of Ghana. It is not only the responsibility of the security personnel. In the political game, we have so many actors. Security is one. The general public, you and I, are members. Then the political parties and the EC comes. Now, events happening in this country were some of the reasons, and then that, led Nana to come out with that statement. We've been seeing events in Charponi, in Takwa. Currently, as I speak, at Sotifi South, supporters of Collins Dauda are attacking members of the MPP. In Kumasi, after declaration of this peace agreement, our MP has been chased. So what are we talking about?
But he's been arrested and granted bail.
What are you talking about?
He's been arrested according to the police.
These are issues that we members of the MPP, we are never in any case, how do I say?
The question is, and I wanted to address that, is will this peace pact hold 6 days to the elections?
Yeah, holding of this peace pact has to come from the commander-in-chief. who is the president of the country.
What about your own candidate? What about yourself?
Our presidential candidate is committed to that. Myself, I'm committed to that. Just as I believe the NDC on their part are committed to that. Who presides over the country called Ghana? It is the president. Who is the commander-in-chief?
But you've acknowledged that in maintaining peace, it's a collective responsibility. So the president singularly will be ineffective in indeed ensuring that we have a peaceful election.
In the first place, if I should give you my candid opinion about this peace part that has been signed, I think it has even negated the credibility of Ghana.
Why?
So many times, we've had 5 successful elections without signing any peace act. You understand? Now, you are creating the atmosphere as if the country is boiling. If we don't sign peace agreement, it means that Party A or Party B is going to cause problem. And that is absolutely not true. If any country, our neighboring country here that, the 8 presidential candidates were brought or were sent to Kumasi to sign a peace agreement, it is an indictment on integrity of Ghana as a democratic country. Which country has ever gone into election with signing peace agreement? That is absolutely nonsensical to me. That is not my party stand. Myself as Ma'azum of Tao, that is my stand. We don't even have to go into signing agreement. If myself and the NDC man can sit down and debate on national issue without signing any peace agreement, in 2008, after the NDC beat the MPP in a very controversial percentage, it is a percentage that has never happened in the history of democracy, but we accepted defeat. We accepted the defeat, and since then, are you protesting this thing? Haven't we accepted defeat? And that is why President Mahama is presiding over Ghana. If we hadn't accepted the verdict of Ghanaians, we wouldn't have had President Mahama presiding over Ghana. Similar issue happened in different parts of the world. That is why Rwanda is in despotic sense of hopelessness. Kenya is in a state that you and I might not even like to call. Rwanda, the same thing. What is it? Zimbabwe, having to heard Morgan Tsvangirai sign so many peace agreements with Robert Mugabe, has it hold? So these are issues. The major player of this peace agreement has to do with the incumbent, the opposition party. And we on our part will do everything that will protect the sensitive of this election.
Wanda, you agree with that?
I don't know. In one point, you know, when you asked him, I told him this, he's been out of Ghana for a long time. In the beginning, when you asked him this question, he said it was fine, it was okay, it was good for.
No, I'm telling you, this is my candid opinion.
All of a sudden, he's distancing himself away from that.
I'm saying that as a party member.
Let me correct an impression. Granted that is your
my personal opinion. Yeah.
What happened in Kumasi was not a peace agreement. People must be educated on this man. It's just a 5-point commitment. In fact, it's called the Kumasi Declaration, but what is behind this is that taking a stand against electoral violence, impunity, and injustice in Ghana. Simple. I mean, it's not as if we're committing anybody to some agreement so that if you don't live by it, there are sanctions.
My brother, you need to just go and then read it very well.
There are sanctions.
We have
and all
committed
that.
the 8 presidential candidate to an agreement.
There are no sanctions to what was signed in Kumasi. It is a commitment to assure your grassroots that, listen, this campaign must be conducted in an environment devoid of antagonism, devoid of quarrels, devoid of fighting, devoid of every other violence that can be associated with campaigning. Now, I'm asking the question, why do we need this in 2012? In 2000 elections, when we were in power and they were coming to power, we didn't need this. We didn't need to go to Kumasi or go to Voto or anywhere in the past. I'm coming. The reason why he's taking this position, and which I want to associate with him based on the fact that his flag bearer is the reason why we are signing this particular declaration.
Who told you that? Please
allow him. I want you to make notes. Make notes so that when they come to you, that you can
respond. After the elections in 2008, when the U.S. cables came out, one of the cables told us exactly that Nana Addo was a threat to the peace of this country. That is one. Number two, he himself, by his posturing and by his conduct in public life with respect to this campaign, he's already positioned himself as such. It is of no surprise when he says that the order be that he's proud. You sit on a national studio station like this and look at Ghanaians and tell them that you are proud to mention a word like all die be that. That's a disgrace. And that's an embarrassment to his party if he cares to know. And I'm telling you today that the conduct of Nanado and then the MPP as a whole is a threat to the declaration that was signed in Kumasi, and they must watch out for that. Will he hold? Of course, it's going to hold. We are bigger than them. The MPP is just some microcosm of Ghanaians. We are bigger, far bigger. The interest of this country is bigger than the MPP and will always be bigger than the MPP.
What would it take? What would it take to hold?
Why would it take to hold?
What would it take?
It would take the commitment of we as Ghanaians and not the interest of some MPP groups or the interest of people like Muftar or the interest of Nanado to make it not work. What will make it work is that our institutions of state will work, the Peace Council will work, the Police Council will work, the National Security will work, all the other agencies, the EC and all that are involved in these elections will run the elections. I know one of the things they are doing is to set the tone to have the Cote d'Ivoire-like situation where there's chaos and there's antagonism, and then people will say that, well, the election has been rigged. This election will not be rigged. It's going to be one touch. We believe that what the NDC has done over the period, our achievement over the period, will speak for us. We're not in a hurry. We're not worried about anything. We have very few time to campaign, but even with a few period that we're campaigning, it's been done in a very peaceful manner. My president has been on the campaign tour. He's been talking peace. He's been preaching peace to the people, and he believes that Ghanaians will make that choice, and that choice will be paramount to override every interest of Nanado and the MPP and the so-called whatever they want to make us believe. And that's what we are looking at. That's what is going to work, and not their interest.
You know what? My brother from the NDC is failing to dichotomize between complaint and comment. Nana Addo wasn't giving any complaint. He was rather making a comment.
It's not true.
You can't have events like the one we have in Cherponi, the one we have in Akotia, the one we have in Agbogloshi, the one we have in Asutifisaf happening, and then you can't complain it. He's making a comment. In the first place, I told you, the price of internal democracy is vigilant. I'm telling you that we, the members of the MPP, do not see the all die be die as a call to violence. It is rather a call to re-energize, to reposition the members of the NDC, the MPP, so that we police our ballot box very well. In 1996, we are in this country. The former Minister of Interior was shot. He won the seat. What is his name? Subhanallah. He was shot. He ran into a kiosk. We were in this country. We know the history of the NDC. This is a party whose flag bearer and the founder himself clearly demonstrated his lack of commitment towards democracy. Rawlings is on tape to have said that he does not believe in democracy. This is the sort of people we have. And what are we talking about? My point is that this peace agreement, this is my personal note, not the stand of my party. It is unnecessary. It shouldn't have even taken place. We've had 5 successful elections in this country where we never, committed any of the presidential candidates to sign any peace agreement. But it went on well. For him to allude to the fact that the peace agreement was signed because of our candidates, this is a double standard.
Let me take final comments from you, then I'll take final comments from him as well.
I'm really surprised. Let me address this thing very well before I come.
Quickly, those should be your final comments.
How on earth will 8 presidential candidates paraded themselves before the clergymen, before His Excellency Otufo, before former heads of state, Rawlings and President, Chief Justice, and you are telling me that it was signed because of one individual?
Yes.
I'm telling him that he needs to go and read much about Adudankwa, Akufo-Addo. This is an individual, I'm telling you. In the history of this country, we've had only 2 people.
Good. I think that point has been made.
So that he knows it very well.
In 60 seconds,
the opportunity of chairing the United Nations Security Council.
Let me get to wrap up for me now. Quickly, it's a time. We're just finishing. I mean, because I've given you 3 minutes. You need to wrap up for me now. So your response to that?
It's a non-starter.
Yes.
In fact, it is a non-starter for my brother to say that because Nanado chaired the Security Council of the UN, and so that means that he's committed to peace. Hey, That's his joke.
No,
in
what are
fact,
you talking about?
When you were speaking, he didn't interject. Allow him.
No, what is the essence of UN?
Can you allow him to make the point?
What is the essence of UN?
Had allowed the tenets of the UN
to
get into him. Perhaps maybe his poetry would have changed on this particular matter. In any case, he shouldn't come and parade Nado as a hero in front of us.
No,
we all know
Nado.
Allow him.
This is the
allow him to make the point.
You are heckling him. What is that? What does that mean? What it means is that Nado has consistently shown violence. He is consistently being the type that cannot rule this country.
Allow him to make the point.
That cannot rule this country. He has shown us the caliber of person he is. He's a violent person. Everybody knows him. He's a violent person. He's shown it. He said Etiwaka Yachiramu Bibi Kakrabi and all that. All the stories are there. He knows it very well. And so this time round, we are not going to be looking on just like that. We are watching with eagle eyes, and Ghanaians are watching. We know that we want to entrust this country into the hands of a very peaceful person. And that peaceful person on December 7th is John Dramani Mahama. It's no other person but John Mahama.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Muftal. No. I gave you 3 minutes. I gave him 2 minutes. But that's it. Mazu Muftal is the secretary of the MPP New York, PRO of Nasara Club, North America. I'm grateful for your time, Mazu. And also Wanda Madilo, Government Communications Team member. My name is Evan Spencer. Starting right now is Joe News at 8.